for an index
Mm-hmm.
To be compiled.
Mm-hmm.
So I applied on the library's behalf for funds to employ someone to start compiling that index, and the application was successful. So that was. I mean, as I said, I was wanting to do something different by that time at that late stage in the job, but that kind of convinced me that this is a good time to move on. You know, go out on a high, as it were.
Mm-hmm. Because you're Scottish, but I see you as very much someone with an international outlook.
You have to be if you're Scottish.
Yes, you do.
How? You can't afford not to be.
No, because you've
especially now.
No, absolutely not. Because like you've mentioned, you've studied in Connecticut, Budapest, North Carolina, France. How have these experiences formed you?
You get your Scottishness into perspective. And again, it reinforces your sense that of, you know, what do you know of Scotland if you only know Scotland. And you know, and Scotland historically has had a big cultural impact on the rest of the world, including the rest of Europe. And I'm not sure there's really that many in Scotland are aware of just the extent of that. So, you know, one of my missions has been to increase knowledge of that. One of the initiatives I was involved in was the bibliography of Scottish literature and translation. So I was editing that for several years and visiting research libraries right across the European continent and delving into their collections to extract the data for that bibliography. So that was one way of charting the territory, if you like, you know, for and for other people to come along and do research based on it, and hopefully to get out to that the results of that research to get out to a wider reading public, not just the academic one.
Because it seems to me it's almost like, you know, you're finding treasure in the map, you know, by sharing these works that have previously been in other languages and translating them into Scots and sharing them with the world. Yeah,
that's a good way of putting it. You know, you're in a way sort of drawing a map, a bit like, you know, Robert Louis Stevenson when he wrote Treasure Island. He supplied a map of the island.
And that's the view that I can
and I love maps.
Well, and you one of your pieces of work you'd written in the Scottish Review, A Scot Abroad, and I love this quote: "Travel makes you aware of your strength and vulnerability."
Yeah. I mean, when I first went out to live for any length of time in another country, part of me was a bit apprehensive, because I'm a bit of a card-carrying wimp. So I just thought, is this going to work, you know? And I get homesick. I remember the first few days that I was living and working in Grenoble, Grenoble, as it's pronounced in France. You know, when I was actually working and just the buzz of the interaction with students and getting involved in the research projects of the department. But when I wasn't working, I got homesick, and my daughter was she was just a tot at the time, and I missed her terribly.
Yeah.
You know? I can remember the first few days I was passing this carousel in the centre of Grenoble, and I saw the kids. You know, it was just shortly after Christmas too. And I saw the kids and started to bubble. So I dived into this fast food restaurant, into the lavvy, to pull myself together and dry my eyes, because I was missing my bearing.
Yeah.
However, as time got on and I got further and further excited about being in France,
Mm-hmm.
and just trying to blend in as much as possible.
And
reading a lot of French literature and French history. As I say, learning as well as teaching. I thought, this is great. I'm expanded as I've never been before in my life.
And am I right in saying that when your daughter did visit, she went on the carousel?
Aye, sure of that.
So a bit of a kind of a bit of a circle there.
She doesn't go on them now.
No. Your book, Slavonic Dances, you shared 3 stories, and they were encounters of Scottish characters with Eastern and East Central European. I'm wondering, were these inspired from your own experiences, or were they inspired from other work?
Partly. I mean, I will take fragments, if you like, fragments of actual experience, things that people have said to me, and I'll rework them. I'll embellish them. But for the most part, it's imagination. But I mean, I couldn't deny that to some extent there is a grounding in actual reality. But I think your life experience is just one of the many dollops of material that you can use. There's
another ingredient in the bowl.
There's imagination. It's one ingredient among many. But obviously, if you're writing straight autobiography, and as I say, that's fine. You'd be willing to do that. You would be sticking to the facts. Well, maybe not necessarily.
or the facts as you see them, which is a whole different story.
But for the most part, imagination. So I wanted to. What I wanted to do was to tease out the tragic side of when 2 cultures come together, or 2 individuals that come from these cultures come together, maybe in a romantic relationship. But also the comedy that's involved as well. And again, my experience. I mean, some of the things I've either experienced myself or have witnessed or have imagined just brings out the sheer hilarity of when people from 2 different cultures come together and there's mutual misunderstanding and so on. It can be extremely funny.
Yeah.
But it can be tragic, and certainly in 2 of the 3 stories, there's a relationship between a man and a woman. In the first one, it's a working class Scottish woman from Leven who marries one of the Polish soldiers who were stationed here during the war. And of course these guys look very smart in their uniforms and handsome as well.
Yes, absolutely.
The local Fife guys just there's just no contest.
No.
So these young ladies, there was actually a member of our own family who married one of these Polish soldiers. It's all the dancing and so on. You can just imagine. The lure of the exotic.
Yes.
These Scottish women thought that these Polish soldiers were exotic.
Yeah.
The Polish soldiers, they thought the Scottish women were exotic. So that's how it works. But then this guy has a dark secret, something horrible that happened to him in the wartime. But then something happens that evokes these memories, and it does not end happily. I will say no more than that. The second one is about a young Scottish student from Dunfermline who goes out to Czechoslovakia. What was then Czechoslovakia, it's now the Czech Republic and Slovakia, because they had a velvet divorce. And in 1967, which is just before the famous Prague Spring, when the communist system is loosening up, and Alexander Dubček takes over and wants to implement socialism with a human face, setting up a more humane system. but then it's crushed by the Soviet Union and its allies when they invade the following August. So anyway, this guy goes out as an exchange student at the Charles University in Prague, and he meets this beautiful Czech woman. I hasten to add, that's not me. I did not meet a beautiful Czech woman in 1960. I was just a beer anyway, just a real laddie, you know. So they have this torrid relationship, which is full of humour. I mean, they're both intellectuals, you know, and the thing about intellect is that it's close to humour. Emotion isn't. You know, emotion, we tend to get too serious about emotion, but intellect is very much humour. Humour is basically an intellectual thing. You know, it tends to kill sentimentality. You know, and positive. But anyway, they get together and they have this lovely relationship. But then when the tanks invade, they're in a crowd, they're in a demonstration, and they get separated. She's shoved in a police van. He doesn't know what's happened, where she's going. His whole world just falls apart. And in any case, he's there on a student visa, which will expire, so he's got to get the hell out anyway. So he goes back to Scotland by way of Germany and Belgium, and just feels utterly devastated that he's lost this lovely lady, and there's no hope of him ever seeing her again until the Velvet Revolution, when he sees her on the telly in the streets of Prague when they're celebrating their liberation. But even then he wonders, will he see her again? So will he see her again?
Will he see her
later
again?
in life? Again, I'm no saying.
Read the book. You've spoken about partnership. How important are your connections with artistic peers? Because we've met through the Fife Rights community. I know that you're involved with lots of different communities, and whenever you spoke about being with other artists, you light up. You know, it's like this complete appreciation for the conversation and for the exchange. Yeah. And it's important not just to be interacting with other writers, but people working in other forms as well. You know, the theatre people, the visual arts people, the musicians, and you know, Fife Rights has done a lot of good work. You know, bringing people together from these different art forms, and you know, there's been some fantastic gigs. God,
some really memorable ones. Like, well, I mean, there was the one that I was emceeing a year ago in Dunfermline at PJ Malloy's. That was great fun. You know, we had Conrad along.
Yes, we did.
And there's a lot of that, and it's great to see Fife being part of something that's happening all over the country. Because I'm involved with groups in Edinburgh and in Glasgow as well, and there's a lot of really lively stuff happening.
And you're a big part of
I would mention, for example, Cheeky Bisms in Glasgow. I've been taking part in their gigs last year, and of course, you know, with having worked in Edinburgh, you know, inevitably I've got a lot of contacts there, and you know, you get involved in some interesting organisations. They bring a book out, an anthology, and it would be launched in a wonderful bookshop in Edinburgh, the Lighthouse bookshop has got this tiny space which somehow expands when there's a gig on, when there's a book launch. I call it the concertina room. And I've been involved in an organisation called Dovetails, which is a group of artists for peace, and you know, we campaign against the arms trade. And there's a lot of activities that it's involved in, political and artistic. And so far, it's published 2 books, 2 anthologies, which I've contributed to. So again, these books get launched, and there's an audience comes along. We had a gig in St Giles Cathedral